Church what? Church who? That's it. Church what? Church who? Church you. Church what? Church who? Church you. Church what? Church who? Church you. Church what? Church who? Church you.
It's your time to break out and believe that God has set you free. No time to back down now, because this is what you've destined to be. So walk in your authority, victory, clarity, everybody, you and me, until we all reach unity in the Son of God.
Church what? Church who? Church you. Church what? Church who? Church you. Church what? Church who? Church you. Church what? Church who? Church you.
I remember when I lost myself, and Jesus was my only help. The life that once identified me has now gone down in history. What would I be without you? Who would have brought me through? Nobody but Jesus, because He is the truth. It's been Jesus Christ, the one who gave me life. What I am and who I am is who He is. Church, what? Put your faith in God and trust.
Church who?
Everybody in this room.
Church
So
you.
tell me what you're gonna do. Tell me what you're gonna do.
Church what?
Put your faith in God and trust.
Church who?
Everybody in this room.
Church
So
you.
tell me what you're gonna do. Tell me what you're gonna do.
Church what?
Put your faith in God and trust.
Church who?
Everybody in this room.
Church
So
you.
tell me what you're gonna do. Tell me what you're gonna do. Church what? Church who? Church you. Church what? Church who?
Yeah,
Church you.
don't get it twisted when I say I'm a Christian. That doesn't mean I cut my circle, turn on people that sin. And I'm in a building full of people filled with God and His grace. But when we lead a church behind us, tell me, who do we save? It's crazy. I've been forgiven, but my story ain't finished. I witnessed family turn addiction into death within minutes. This ain't religion, no. This is why we pray for forgiveness. Just take a look around. There's people out here dying from sickness. I need a witness. It's cause of Christ I'm replenished. I'm ready for the world to hear it. It's like this, don't forget it. It's church what? Church what? Church who? Church what? Church who? It's church you. Yeah. It's church you. Yeah. It's church you. Yeah. It's church you. Hey. It's church.
Church what? Church who? Church you. Church what? Church who? Church you. Church what? Church who? Church you. So what you gonna do? How you gonna
The Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is now, there is liberty. And the Spirit lives inside of me. Where the Spirit of the Lord is now, there is liberty. There is liberty. There is liberty.
We, the members of the Libertarian Party, challenge the cult of the omnipotent state and defend the rights of the individual. We hold that all individuals have the right to exercise sole dominion over their own lives and have the right to live in whatever manner they choose, so long as they do not forcibly interfere with the equal rights of others to live in whatever manner they choose. Governments throughout history have regularly operated on the opposite principle, that the state has the right to dispose of the lives of individuals and the fruits of their labor. Even within the United States, all political parties other than our own grant to government the right to regulate the lives of individuals and seize the fruits of their labor without their consent. We, on the contrary, deny the right of any government to do these things and hold that where governments exist, they must not violate the rights of any individual, namely, 1, the right to life. Accordingly, we support the prohibition of the initiation of physical force against others. 2, the right to liberty of speech and action. Accordingly, we oppose all attempts by government to abridge the freedom of speech and press, as well as government censorship in any form. And 3, the right to property. Accordingly, we oppose all government interference with private property, such as confiscation, nationalization, and eminent domain, and support the prohibition of robbery, trespass, fraud, and misrepresentation. Since governments, when instituted, must not violate individual rights, we oppose all interference by government in the areas of voluntary and contractual relations among individuals. People should not be forced to sacrifice their lives and property for the benefit of others. They should be left free by government to deal with one another as free traders, and the resultant economic system, the only one compatible with the protection of individual rights, is the free market.
Howdy and welcome everyone to another stream with Libertarian Dave. I hope y'all are having a great week, great day. Hope you had a great weekend. It's been good. It's been good. I've been excited. There's big news. The single Libertarian we have in Congress has submitted the single only legislation that could possibly fix this racial injustice we have in this country. Go figure. My question is, why did it take a Libertarian in Congress to get this thing done? I'm kind of shocked. I guess the Democrats and the Republicans never thought of it. Okay. But anyways, what I'm talking about is H.R. 7085, sponsored and written by Representative Justin Amash, Libertarian out of Michigan, to end qualified immunity. I'm pumped up about it because as the Democrats are complaining about police and the Republicans are complaining about protests, the Libertarian is trying to fix it. That's what I'm pumped up about. I honestly, when I heard about this on Sunday, I honestly wanted to jump on here and tell you guys right then and there. But I wanted to wait till we actually had it in writing, submitted to Congress, and it's already done that. It's got about 39 sponsors, but they're all Democrats. Where's the Republicans getting behind this thing? But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. What I want to do first and foremost is, of course, I like to educate. So I know some of you probably don't even know what qualified immunity is. So what I would like to do first and foremost is school you on it. What's qualified immunity? I got somebody better. So, as you know, I've wanted to introduce you to our vice presidential candidate, and you got to hear him, I think, in my last stream. But now you're actually going to get to see him because I got my second monitor set up. So I'm going to get this thing going. Other things I'm going to talk about, I got an issue with Modern Warfare when I was gaming. I'm going to share that with you. We're going to have a guest later on, because I don't want to, I like to get my meat out in the first part of the streams. I'm not like these other mainstream media who try to hook you with the big story and then they drag it out until the very end, then they give you the big story. Now I'm going to give you the big story up front, and then we're going to work on some stuff. I'm going to talk about some other things, and then I might have a special guest on Zoom interview, my very first Zoom interview on my stream. It could get ugly because, like I said, I haven't done this, so we're going to play around with it and see if I can get it to work. Should be fun though. So let me introduce you to Spike Cohen, our Libertarian vice presidential candidate. This should work perfect because I've tested it already. So it should, nope, is that it? Boom, there it is. Oh, he's kind of all up in my business though, isn't he? Let me scoot him over this way. Okay. So this is our, that works good. So this is our vice presidential candidate, Spike Cohen here. He's going to explain to you guys what exactly is qualified immunity. And I'm going to go turn that background music down just a little bit.
Hey everybody, I hope you're staying safe. You've probably heard some conversation recently about something called qualified immunity, and you've probably heard a lot of people calling for qualified immunity to be ended. In fact, Libertarian Congressman Justin Amash has introduced a bill that would end qualified immunity. But what is qualified immunity, and why do so many people want to get rid of it? Well, simply put, qualified immunity is an absolutely ridiculous legal doctrine that effectively makes it impossible to sue police officers, politicians, and other government officials if they're abusive. See, before the 1960s, if any officer abused you or in any other way violated your rights, you could sue them, not just the department, but the individual officer. This helped to keep them in check, and now that we can all carry around...
Sorry to interrupt you, Spike. It was in the 1960s, and the reason why, if you really dig into this law of qualified immunity, the reason they did it was so that they could, you remember those videos you seen of where they were hosing down protesters and stuff with fire hoses, and the police out there in riot gear just bashing people with riot shields? That they passed the law so people couldn't sue the cops or the government officials for ordering that kind of treatment of U.S. citizens that are peacefully protesting during the civil rights movement. So that was the whole purpose, is to allow for this kind of aggressive behavior against peaceful protesters, and that the law officers wouldn't be subject to lawsuits for it, or government officials wouldn't be subjected to lawsuits over it. So I think he gets into it a little bit more. So let's continue.
Check. And now that we can all carry around high definition cameras, if we still had this ability to sue them if they violated our rights, it would stop them in their tracks. But starting in the 1960s, mostly to allow officers to abuse civil rights protesters, the courts started imposing an absurd doctrine of qualified immunity that basically says that officers can't be sued for abuses as long as their actions were reasonable. And who decides whether or not the action is reasonable? Why, the officer who's being accused, of course. Imagine being on trial for a crime and being able to show up and just say, well, Your Honor, I thought what I did was perfectly reasonable, and the judge throws the case out. That's how qualified immunity works. And in 2001, the Supreme Court somehow made it even worse. They said that even if the officer's actions weren't deemed reasonable, that they still couldn't be sued unless there was already a precedent of that exact same abuse happening in that exact same jurisdiction, which had already been ruled as abusive. So for example, in Tennessee, police were allowed to have their canine officer ruthlessly bite a suspect who was already handcuffed, even though a similar case had already been ruled abusive, because in the first case, the suspect was lying on his side instead of sitting up. And in another case, prison guards were allowed to pepper spray a prisoner in his cell for no reason, even though a similar case had been ruled abusive, because in the first case, the guards used a taser instead of pepper spray. This is why the police are brutalizing you with no fear of repercussion. This is why they're bashing people's heads in and spraying tear gas on them. This is why they broke into Breonna Taylor's home in plain clothes and murdered her. This is why they opened fire on Duncan Lemp's home while he slept and murdered him. This is why they slowly choked George Floyd to death while a crowd watched and begged them to stop. Qualified immunity is the doctrine that has allowed police officer after police officer to get off unscathed, murder after murder, abuse after abuse of innocent people in this country. Here are some upcoming cases that are expected to be thrown out because of qualified immunity. A case where officers stole $225,000. A police officer who shot a 10-year-old while trying to shoot a non-threatening family dog. Prison officials who locked an inmate in a sewage-flooded cell for days, SWAT team members who fired gas grenades into an innocent woman's empty home, medical board officials who rifled through a doctor's client files without a warrant, county officials who held a 14-year-old in solitary confinement with no trial for over a month, a cop who body slammed a 5-foot-tall woman for walking away from him, police who picked up a mentally infirmed man, drove him to the county line and dropped him off at dusk along the highway where he was later struck and killed. Qualified immunity is what allowed Derek Chauvin to continue serving after at least 17 excessive force complaints prior to his murdering George Floyd. Qualified immunity is also why non-abusive cops stand back and allow abusive cops to do what they do. Imagine if those officers could be sued for refusing to arrest a fellow officer who was breaking the law. How much more proactive do you think they'd be if they could lose everything if they didn't? Qualified immunity needs to end, and Joe Jorgensen and I will do that. We'll also end civil asset forfeiture. I'll be making a video soon explaining what that is. We will end the militarization of our police, and we will maximize the civil liberties protections that are often denied to us, especially the most marginalized among us. If you'd like to help spread the message about why we need to end qualified immunity and Joe and my plan to do that, be sure to share this video. Thanks, and stay safe out there.
Nope. We'll get into that in a minute right there. So yeah, that was Spike Cohen, our vice presidential candidate, and I encourage you, I put a link to his Facebook page. I think it's called literally Spike Cohen or something. I put a link in the description, so check him out. Go follow him. He's got a ton of videos on there too, just like Joe does on the website, on the joj2020.com. So check them out. I'm really excited. I'm gonna put up the actual text of the bill. It's HR 7085. I think I have it in here. Let's check her out. So. Nope, I guess I don't. I thought I did. Okay. No problem. We'll get it in there in a minute. Actually, I'll just move it over to the other screen, right? I can do that. We'll go full screen with it. So, I love having this second screen now. It makes it so much easier to show y'all stuff. So here it is. Here is the actual bill on congress.gov. I think that's what it is. The website is. This is what excites me the most right here is Representative Amash, Justin, Libertarian from Michigan, introduced. So I'm real excited about it because this could end like 60 years of abuse by authority and force them to be held accountable. Now, this doesn't take any power away from the police. It only holds them accountable so that, hopefully they'll seek more training. They'll understand. They'll do, like I was saying with Evolve on the last stream, that there should be some rules of engagement. There should be an escalation of force. And I think if we get, for one, we got to get this done. And we also got to get rid of the police unions that continue to protect bad cops. Bad cops. I mean, 17 times this guy that's a trend, 17 times this guy has had charges brought up against him for abuse of authority. So, I mean, this is something that's way overdue. And I'm happy and proud that the single libertarian that we have in Congress has got the huevos to put this thing forward. And so far, we have 39 co-sponsors on it, and you can see there's a trend amongst the co-sponsors. So, and they're all Democrats. So why is that? Where is Massey at? Where's Thomas Massey? Justin Amash's right-hand man, the guys who both stood up against the coronavirus stimulus package that's eventually going to cost us $18 trillion probably. So where's he at? I mean, did he take a nap or something? I mean, this is his buddy that's up here. He needs to, I mean, obviously he has, I mean, it kind of seemed like he didn't have any loyalty to the Republican Party. I mean, he was the single only voice from the Republicans to stand up in defense of the Constitution when the stimulus package was going through. So you would think Thomas Massey would be willing to stand up for this. It's the right thing to do. So I don't understand for him specifically what the holdup is. He should have been the first one to sign on as a co-sponsor with this bill. So it's just really curious what kind of politics is going on with that. But so far we have 39 Democrats that have signed on to co-sponsor this bill, and there is a huge call. I actually started looking at Twitter today, so yeah, and I actually started sharing some stuff on Twitter. I'm going to create a Libertarian Dave Twitter account, and I'll share that with you guys, so we can, you know, so I try to. I don't keep my personal life separated from my political life. It's definitely all intermingled, but I don't like to. I have a lot of friends that aren't so much into it, so I don't want to over flood them and make them defriend me because they're just tired of seeing politics. So, but anyways, oh, I got some chat. Hey, Fighter69, what's going on? Yeah, man. Qualified immunity, when I started looking into it, I was like, this is insane. How? I mean, how? I've heard of sovereign immunity, which is the immunity for the crown, like the king can do no wrong. It's what mayors, governors, and presidents can use in order to not be sued if their legislation somehow harms somebody. So, say they pass legislation that ends up causing somebody to lose their job, which happens a lot. So they're prevented from being sued because of that by anybody. So yeah. So yeah, there it is, representing Justin Amash. So digging it. What else we got? Yes, it needs to end. What is this guy's page? I got The Rock. That's a lot of code. Actually, it's all Democrats though. See, that's the thing. I want to get into that real quick. His Facebook page it's in the description. It should be in the description. Let me know if you can't find it. I pretty sure I posted it in the description. I'll post it in chat right now. His Facebook page. Literally, Spike Cohen. So why am I not seeing chat here? I only seen it on my phone. That's weird. That's weird. I can't see chat on my computer for some reason. It's been around since the 60s, Bernie. It's been around since the 60s. Like I said, it was put into effect to during the civil rights movement in order to prevent protesters and civil rights activists from suing the police that were abusing them on the streets. You remember the fire hoses and stuff where they're hosing protesters down during the civil rights movement? I mean, beating them. I mean, it prevented them from suing those police officers during those abusive times. And it's been on the books ever since. And it's been used a lot. Every time these cops walk without even a slap on the wrist, it's probably because of qualified immunity. And the same thing applies to government officials, mayors, governors, legislatures, congressmen, senators, presidents. Everybody falls under this qualified immunity because it's that thing that says, well, I was just doing my job type of thing, you know? It's totally ridiculous. Did that come? Okay, it did come through. I don't know. That's weird. So it's been around for 60, 70 years. How many Democrats and Republicans have been in office since then, and we haven't tried to end this thing yet? So we finally get a Libertarian congressman, and now we have a bill to end this racist injustice law that makes, injustice okay. Finally. So if there's any reason in the world to vote Libertarian, there you go. And the other thing I want to talk about is you watch, the Republicans are going to have to get on board with this because, for one, it was not introduced by a Democrat. So that's the thing about, this is why I want to encourage people when people say, well, you know, what can one libertarian or two libertarians or 10 libertarians do in Congress when you have they're not ever going to be able to get anything done because it's all Democrats and all Republicans. Well, there's two arguments against that, and one of them is what we're seeing right now with Justin Amash. So he put in a bill. Now, a lot of Democrats have already got behind it, but a libertarian is the sponsor. And the thing about libertarians is libertarians obviously are about individual liberty and smaller government. Less government power, individual liberty. Hopefully anybody who understands what a libertarian is knows that much. So it's hard for the Republicans and the Democrats because, especially Republicans, because Republicans, what did my buddy say yesterday? He said they campaign as libertarians and then govern like Democrats. So the thing, since you are always talking like you're a libertarian, if you don't believe me, go look at the executive order that Donald Trump put out in order to try to get Twitter to quit blocking him. It's totally ridiculous, but I mean, it sounds like he's trying to be a libertarian until the very end where he's trying to tell a private company what they should do. So that's the point, is now the Republicans can jump on board with a bill because it's not being introduced by Democrats. So they're not going to take heat because they're not backing a Democrat bill, they're backing a libertarian bill. And the Democrats can do the same thing. They can do it without offending their Democrat base, and you know, because they don't have to jump on board with the Republicans, and they don't have to and they don't have to toe that party line. That libertarian in Congress is giving them the opportunity to do what's right without offending their own party and without joining the other party. So they can do that. It's not, I don't like saying it's middle ground, but it's the right thing to do. So that's what a libertarian or a few libertarians can do in Congress without having a majority. And the other thing that they can do is they can tip the scales. So say you have 220 or 200 Republicans, I don't remember exact number of representatives we have, so just excuse me for that. Say we have 400 and something, I think it is, 468 I think. But anyway, so say we have 220 Democrats and we have 222 Republicans, so that's 440, and then the rest, the other 20 or 30, are libertarians. So obvious, every bill that comes to Congress, those 20 or 30 libertarians are going to be the ones who choose which way it goes every single time. So you split it down party lines, Republicans and Democrats, the 20 or 30 libertarians are going to be the ones to say whether this bill actually passes or not across the board. That's why I encourage people to vote libertarian. If you don't remember the video I posted from Justin Amash talking about how the sausage is cut in Washington, how Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell basically run the whole show. It's not even the president, it's not even your congressman, but it's those two. It's whoever is the seniors in the old parties are the ones that run the show. Well, get 20 or 30 libertarians in there and they're no longer running the show. You can split every bill down the line, down party lines, but it's going to be those 20 or 30 libertarians in Congress that are going to decide whether it passes or not. That's the push. That's why it's never a wasted vote. Not to mention if we had a president, Joe Jorgensen. You just, somebody, please give me one reason why Donald Trump or Joe Biden are a better choice than Joe Jorgensen. Just, I'll wait. Appreciate it, Bernie. You got Bernie on board. That's what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, this is big. It's huge. Because I've always said, okay, so what I've said from, I don't know, you guys, I track my own thoughts. So I don't know if you guys are keeping up or not. But what I've always said is that we need to get on the debate stage for this upcoming election. We need Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen on the debate stage so we can embarrass these people. These Democrats and Republicans. But the Democrats and Republicans own the national debate, the national presidential debate. It used to be ran by the League of Women Voters, but when Ross Perot embarrassed them centuries ago, they said, whoa, we can't do this no more. So it's a bipartisan committee now. So it's owned by the Democrats and Republicans. So They have everything to lose and nothing to gain by letting the Libertarian or any other third party on that stage. So they just won't do it. They just won't do it. They don't have anything to gain from it unless we make them. We have to make them have more to lose than to gain. And the only way we do that is to get attention to the Libertarian Party and then attention to our presidential candidate. And once we get that prime time media attention and people start shifting and those polls start shifting Libertarian, now the Republicans and the Democrats will have to defend their positions against the Libertarian position. And they'll have to let us on the debate stage because they will have more to lose than to win by not letting us on the stage. So that's been my my take on it from the beginning. So, let's see. Trump actually went through with that threat. Yes, he did. He did the executive order. Me and Evolve were talking about it the other night. It's utterly ridiculous, but he's preaching all about the First Amendment, freedom of speech. His freedom of that. Twitter, what was it? Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Was Instagram in there? I don't know, but it's a long executive order of a bunch of hoopla about violating the First Amendment. The First Amendment does not apply to a private company. Just like, you can tell people to shut up when they're in your house, right? Like somebody comes in your house and they're saying nonsense. You can say shut up and kick them out, right? It's your private house. It's your home. So Twitter is a private company. So is Facebook and everything else. So yeah, they can tell whoever they want to shut up for whatever reason they want. I think they've been pretty fair about it. If this thing ever went to the Supreme Court, I think the Supreme Court would probably agree as well. So, but yeah, he went through with the threat, man. He did it. Trump not playing. We need strong leadership like that, though. Talk about Trump executive order and what he did. I want to hear it. You want to hear the whole executive order? So basically, the executive order, I'm just going to paraphrase it for you, is he went through a whole bunch of our founding fathers and all this stuff, talking about the Constitution and freedom of speech and is important. And then in the end, he basically said he was going to force a private company against their will to, he's going to basically choose to control how a private company runs their business in the end. So, which is completely unconstitutional, and it's tyrannical and oppressive and not American. So, that's what he did. But is it going to fly? I have no idea. But yeah, it was, I don't know. And then he ended it with some rainbows and sunshine that everything's going to be all right if you just let him be a tyrant. So, so that was that. That was the what I want to go through about my excitement. I'm excited about HR 7085. I don't know if it's the first ever sponsored libertarian sponsored bill or not. It might be. Might be. If so, what a great one to have, right? What a great one to have. A bill to finally end injustice in the United States, sponsored, the first sponsored bill by a libertarian. That would be terrific. That would be great for our party's history books, for sure. For sure. SRF game. Oh, okay. I'm interested in the order and what he did and said. Where is it? Oh, the order. Let me see if I can. Okay. I do have it because me and Evolve were talking about it and he sent it to me in an IM. So I do have it. Just give me 1 second. I will post it in chat for you. Nope. Okay. Okay, where's he at? Come on now. Where is it? I had to have passed it up already. There it is. Okay, I got it. Oh, wow, it's straight out of the whitehouse.gov too. So I'll put the executive order on preventing online censorship. So we're preventing companies from censoring on their own platforms. So I told Evolve, I was like, if I was Twitter, I would be like, I'd be like, so I can't control my own company, so let me just shut it off. Then how would he feel if he can't communicate anymore over Twitter? He writes the most ridiculous things on Twitter. I just got on Twitter today and I'm like, this is the president of the United States that says these things. I don't know. This is weird, man. I don't know how you people defend him. The people who defend Trump so hardcore, every time I see him speak unscripted, where somebody else didn't write the speech, I'm like, where's this guy's mind at? He sounds like a narcissistic tyrant. I'm just shocked. I mean, when he's saying his speeches, it's all great and grand and everything. But I mean, I'm not trying to bash the guy. I'm just saying that, and he has done good things for the country. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, as far as character and personality go, it's like, come on, man. And even his policies, does he respect the Constitution? I don't know. Where am I at? Okay, here we go. So here's the executive order for you. Who was asking for that? I kill you. There is the executive order on whitehouse.gov. I can put it up for y'all if you want to take a gander at it while we're online here. It's really long. Here, let me put it up for you so you can see it. This is the anti-censorship bill. So there you go. Executive preventing online censorship, and it's blah 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 blah. Ooh, really long. Really good speech writing here from whatever lawyer wrote this thing. So legislation shall develop a proposal for federal. So this is really, and that's really what it kind of ended up is he's ordering the Attorney General to develop a proposal for federal legislation that would be useful to promote the policy objectives in the order, which is to censor Twitter and social media to anti-censor. But then you're going to get in that thing. Okay, well, do they censor or do they not censor? So anybody can say whatever they want. So they can post pornography and whatever they want. Since you apparently are making the rules now for what can and cannot be posted on social media. So is it going to be allowed for Democrats to post whatever they want? Any nastiest or nonsense about you? I mean, is that going to be okay? Where's it going to end? That's why it's best to just leave private companies in order to do their own thing. Let their own moral compasses guide their companies. So this order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. I don't know why it would cost money, but the order is not intended to or does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. So, yeah. So algorithms too. Algorithms to suppress content or users based on indications of political alignment or viewpoint. So he's basically accusing Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube of having an algorithm that picks out if you are politically aligned in a certain direction and deleting your content if you are. So if you support Donald Trump, then this is what he suspects, is that if you support him, there's an algorithm in there that automatically deletes your information, I guess. So, highly doubtful. Interested in the order. Okay, so I posted the order there. Social media has major, SRF Gaming says, social media has major influence. Social media is more of a public forum than a private company. Made by a private company, but it's the new town hall meeting. Yeah, that's what he said in his thing too, was that it was the new town hall. But when was the town hall ever regulated by the government or the state? The town hall is where groups of people meet to adjourn, and it's not owned by anybody. So the difference between this town hall is it's actually owned by somebody. This is somebody's private company. So first you're going to have to establish legislation that holds social media accountable like a journalist, and they don't even hold journalism accountable anymore. So I mean, you can't protect one freedom without denying another freedom. So you don't have freedom of speech in the private forum. You know, so this is a private forum. Unless the government, I mean, if he wants free speech, then have the government create their own social media platform. Then he can speak out on that platform all he wants. Wait, they do have C-SPAN. You know what I mean? So you could create a public social media platform. No, don't do that, because then you're just going to it's going to cost $8 trillion for them to build it, and it's going to be completely, ineffective, and it will cost more money than it's worth and everything else. So yeah, scratch that. But anyways, that's the only way you can hold a town hall thing, hold Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram to this town hall thing, is if you can't, because it's a private company. The only way you could do that is if you wanted to use that town hall thing, is to create a public social media thing. That's the only way. That would be the public town hall. And then literally anybody could say anything they want on it, right? Because we're talking about freedom of speech. So at what point would you limit speech? You know what I mean? Hate speech? What are you going to do? Would that get deleted? I mean, can somebody go out on the street and yell, you could go out on the street and yell profanities and stuff, right? So I guess that would be disturbing the peace. But the other thing is a participation in Twitter and all these social media platforms, participation is 100% voluntary. So nobody's forced to. You don't even have to pay for it. So, I mean, just get off of it. If you don't like the way that they do business, anybody doesn't like the way they do business, get off of it and go to another media platform that doesn't restrict your content. Is there not one out there? I'm sure there is. If there isn't one out there, then develop one. Then make one. That's the beauty of the free market. So no, I'll never get behind. I don't. This is the problem with government regulation. If government was to regulate Twitter and social media in that way, now you have just gave them control of your ability to speak out on those platforms as well. You just gave them the ability to control your voice on those platforms. Is that what you want? Give government more control over your life? Even on social media? They've been trying to forever now, Please do a stream on this executive order and breaking it down. Look at the Irish spot says, how does he get away with this stuff? Because he's the president. And in the United States, you're team blue, you're team red, roo-rah, you're my hero. That's, this politics is now a team sport apparently, and you have fans, which is short for fanatical, so you have this audience that's fanatical about you, and you can do no wrong. And then they all just, whatever he says or does, they just blow it up like it's the best thing since sliced bread. And it's ridiculous. And they did the same thing for Obama. So I'm not saying it's the same. The Democrats and the Republicans are the same. Vote Libertarian. Get something different. Jack Dorsey, the Twitter owner, believes Twitter should be considered a public utility because of the influence. Really? A public utility. I'm going to have to look into that, man. I'm going to write that down. I appreciate that, SRF Gaming. Public utility. Twitter as a public utility. Oh, shoot. The thing about public utilities is it is a government-created monopoly most of the time. So Twitter is trying to monopolize social media by using government regulation in order to, if Twitter gets made a public utility, that's exactly what I was saying. Oh man, that's exactly what I was just saying, SRF Gaming, is if the government wanted to have a public town hall on social media than to create their own, or make Twitter a public utility, which would make it a public town hall, and then the government could control it. But you also create a monopoly when you do it. So what would happen is, it's exactly, because this is a businessman, very, very smart businessman. And what would happen was, now you have the public utility, and the usage for any other competing public utility, any other utility that competes against that utility would be heavily regulated and heavily pushed away by the government. So it's the same thing that would happen with telephone, what happened with Bell Telephone before the government broke up the monopoly. And the same thing that happens with electric companies around the country, and gas companies and water companies and sewage and all the stuff, all these government utilities and city-ran utilities, but it would be at the federal level, which to me just means more bad. More bad. Doesn't sound like a good idea. Not necessarily regulate, but not allow a private company impede your rights. So not allowing a private company to impede your rights actually impedes their rights. So it's like the libertarian concept. Your rights end where mine begin. So, when you join that private platform, your rights now are subject to the rights of that platform. So that's just the way the Constitution is designed. I'm sorry, but it's like you can't go into a store and do whatever you want. There's rules within the store. I mean, you can't just start picking up balls and playing ball in the store. You can't just start using the stuff off the shelves and, or speaking to the customers and trying to get them to go to other companies. You're going to get thrown out of the store. You can't go into Target and be like, Walmart's got that so much cheaper. Walmart, and you continue to do that. Eventually the manager's going to be like, you're going to have to go, buddy. So, you are subject to the rules of that store. This is just some examples I threw off the top of my head. But, as long as it's a private company, it's their business. They shouldn't have the ability to let any politician use their platform on social media, especially that tech companies are super left and constrict conservative opinions. Everybody knows that, though. So it is what it is. Like I said, and libertarians would be, we are all about everybody getting to say their spiel. We hate the fact that social media platforms censor conservative opinions. We get censored more than anybody else. Every single media source there is censors libertarian voices. Every single one of them, because we're not left or right. You know what I mean? We're not liberal or conservative. We're libertarians. And no media platform out there wants us to be heard. So we're censored by everybody. But we will protect every single one of their rights to do that. It's just the way it is. It's just the way libertarians are. I guess you could say we are our own worst enemy. But hopefully eventually we'll get in a position where we can fix that. Joe Rogan, look up the Joe Rogan podcast with Jack Dorsey. I will. I'll put that down too. Was it Jack? Jack Dorsey, huh? So, yeah. 20%, only the informed know. 20% of the population. It's true, man. But I get a lot of conservative stuff on my social media platforms and stuff. So I don't know how much censoring they're doing. You know, they're not doing a very good job of it. But yeah, I know what you mean. I censor myself though, so I don't follow news platforms and stuff like that. But you know, it actually is not a bad idea to encourage people to go out and go get some factual information, maybe. So that's that. And I might do that. I might do that. Go line by line on this executive order. It's long though. Me and Evolve actually did kind of go line by line through the whole thing, and it took quite some time. So, what was I going to go over next? Oh, okay. Let me see where he's at. Is he in here? Let me see if he's in my Zoom yet. Nope. Nope. Nobody in my Zoom. So let me message my interview to jump in whenever. So hey man, so what's up with COVID, man? It's another thing I want to talk about. What's up with COVID? It's just gone, I guess. Yeah, what's up with COVID? Where'd it go? Just gone? Well, it's good news today. I don't know if you guys will get as much of a kick out of this as I did, but the World Health Organization has just released some news. It's quite interesting. I think you all will find it quite interesting in relation to COVID-19. You remember COVID-19, right? It was the big news before George Floyd died. So I don't... Oh, it's a short video, so maybe I'll play the video as well. So here we are. Let me go ahead and put it up here so you can get a little bit. It's like poking into my head. But anyways, so the World Health Organization now says that asymptomatic spread of coronavirus is very rare. Oh, so here we go with the backtracking, right? So remember the whole scare was that you don't even show symptoms and you could be spreading it to everybody and you're going to kill everybody. That's why you got to wear a mask even if you don't feel anything, because you could kill people. That's why we got to quarantine even healthy people, because if you're asymptomatic, even if you don't show symptoms, you can spread the disease. And now they're saying it's very rare to be asymptomatic and spreading coronavirus. So why are we social distancing? Why do I see people driving down the highway with masks on in their cars? There's a such thing as hypoventilation. You're not getting enough oxygen. And that's all we need is people in this country not getting enough oxygen to their brains. That's all we need. All we need. So anyways, let's see if the video actually plays. Are we going to get... Is the... Oh, here we go. You think it would draw criticism from across the medical world, right?
We know that people who are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, when we do nasopharyngeal swabs on those people, they're shedding in many cases as much virus as someone who's infected and symptomatic. So you could surmise from that that they're going to be contagious. It might be the case that they're less contagious, but it's way too early to conclude that. We don't have definitive data on this question right now, so we need to assume that asymptomatic
trying to
individuals
backtrack
can
on.
pass on the virus, because when we swab them, we know they have virus on them, and we know that they can exude it.
A really complex question now.
The majority of transmission that we know about is that people who have symptoms transmit the virus to other people through infectious droplets. But there are a subset of people who don't develop symptoms. And to truly understand how many people don't have symptoms, we don't actually have that answer yet.
She's backtracking on it now. It's hilarious, man. Hilarious. But anyways, yeah. So that just cracks me up, man. It's just ridiculous. We need to get over this thing. But yeah, I wanted to share that one with you. What happened to COVID, man? You know, are you guys opened up 100% yet? I don't think we are. I think they're discussing opening up the parks 100% and stuff now. They're talking about schools. I don't know. Maybe Evolve will talk about the schools opening up in El Paso. It's asking for a password. There should be no password. Oh, geez, there is a password. 69753. I think it defaults now for passwords because they had that thing. All right, so we're gonna see how Zoom works. If worse comes to worse, if I can't get Zoom to work within its own little window, I may just put it on the other monitor. I could do anything over. That's why I wanted this second display, because you see how easy it is for me to share stuff now. I could just throw it on the other display, full screen it, boom, and you guys are watching it. So I'm enjoying having that second monitor now, tremendously. So. Oh, wait up, let me catch up on COVID is old news, right, man? Right? Hey, what's going on over in India with Corona and COVID-19 and everything, man? Anything in the news about that? And what happened with the pregnant elephant? Bruno's was talking about they killed a pregnant elephant. There was a bunch of outcry about that and stuff. I was curious about that. I didn't get a chance to look it up. Go over how SRF talks too much. Oh man, it's all good. I love the comments and stuff. So that's what it's all about. Sharing the love, man. Share the love. Yeah. I don't see. I have other people I want to interview. Not that Evolve isn't important, right? Not that Evolve, but if it just so that's why I told him, I was like, give me about 30 minutes or so to get through some good stuff that I want to put out, so I'm not fumbling around with this Zoom thing, you know, before I actually put out some quality information. So I wanted to do that, and then he was even like, we should have probably tested this before the stream. I'm like, we'll just test it during the stream. So we'll see how it works. Oh, there he is. Yep. Admit. And I want to make sure that there's like no echo or anything. Oh, look, this is fancy, man. He's all fancy. So, I'm going to pin your video. So, no, see, I don't want to see myself. No, I don't want to see my video. I got yours pinned. Okay, let's see what happens. We'll go ahead and... I can't hear you. I don't know why I can't hear you. Let me see if... Yeah, you should... I can't hear you. There he is. See, I wanted to get rid of this picture of me at the top. I don't know how to do that. Looks like it's working. I still can't hear you, though. Oh, you're still connecting to audio, it says. Nope. Still can't hear. You're muted, dude. Let me see if do I have to unmute you? Unmute audio. Why can I not hear you? Huh. That's weird. I don't know why I can't hear you. Do you have the right microphone set up in Zoom? I think he's talking to his stream. I don't think he's talking to us. He's talking to his stream. You know, I don't think he realizes that we can't hear him. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can you hear us? Oh, okay. I guess he could hear me. Why can't I hear him? Let me see if maybe I have an audio. Is this? Okay. Nope, still can't hear from there. What? He's like... This is weird, man. Yeah, we probably should have tested this beforehand. I don't understand why there's no sound, though. Because I know I had that working before. He just said, and I didn't hear him. But that's the same thing I said. So I don't know if it's mine or not. I don't know how could I test that out. Well, I mean, I have sound on mine. I know I do. So, and the sound coming through Zoom is the same. So it's through the.
Mic check.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, we got echo though.
What up?
That's weird. I can hear you now. I just had to.
Wow.
I switched speakers off and then back on, and it started working. We got sound.
Okay. Well, wait a second. There is a lot of echo. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. Have the echo left?
Yeah, the echo's gone on my side.
All right, let me turn this down. Okay, so we don't have any echo or whatnot?
I don't hear any echo. You guys hear any echo? Discord is easier. With Discord, there's a big delay, so that's why it's not practical for doing something like this.
Let me share. I'm actually, no, I was talking, I heard you, I was just on my PC kind of working at the same time because I got it right here, but I was saying that I could hear you the whole time, and man, I told this guy we should test this out.
Hey, but we got it now. We got it. Now all I gotta do is figure out how to get my stupid picture off the top up there.
There you go. Cool deal. Oh yeah, you gotta get your video like.
Yeah, I don't.
You don't want to see yourself.
I think there's a way to do that. Oh, hide not video participants? Nope, that's not gonna work. Hide self view? That didn't work either. Yeah. I know there was a way I did it.
Let's see if I can share this link on Facebook. I did it before. Oh, share. Boom.
Did that work?
Host disable attendee to share their screen. All right, I was just gonna try to.
Oh, nope, that didn't work. That actually made you disappear. We can still hear you though.
So what's up, guys? How's it going? Hello, where's that?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Oh yeah, I was messing with it, so I messed it up. So let me get back to it.
That's all good. Let's see.
There we go. Yeah, got you back. I knew that would do it. OBS is so buggy sometimes. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to play around with it in order to get my. Well, you know, I think this is what they use though. But you know, instead of having, you know, maybe I'll look at doing that using a Zoom window. Instead of using the camera in OBS, I'll just use the Zoom window for interviews. In other words, I'll just take myself out of OBS and put myself in Zoom and then use the camera like that.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And then I could still keep the background and everything, and it should work. I mean, I might have to mess with it a little bit, but anyways, man, how's it going? How's it going? Crazy day, huh?
Been doing well. I caught the last part. It sounds like you were you guys had started to go over the executive, because I just got in and I was like, oh, let me quickly set up something here. You were talking about Donald Trump's Twitter and how he had cracked down on him.
Yeah. How, you know, I told him how we went over it pretty in depth.
That was extensive. He obviously didn't write it though, because it was really well written. Really well done.
What? Are you saying that the President of the United States is not well spoken and well written?
Hey man, that was really well.
You know,
really
but
well
if Joe Jorgensen had submitted an executive order like that, you probably would believe that she wrote it, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. You listen to her speak and her actions. Man, she's got quite a few of them, don't she? Speaking of degrees and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny.
That's
So
the thing.
So what did you think about the executive order? So do you think that we should be able to regulate private companies? I mean, do you think that Trump is right, that that Twitter should not be allowed to censor him?
Oh, with regards to censorship, no. But there are especially social media platforms, there are certain things that definitely they need some higher regulations, or something needs to be done. And I think they have been doing it, and it also rounds around the third party and information sharing and a lot of things, because a lot of them, they're so protected with regards to our information and how they gather and if they can sell and how they can sell and how much information they need to let us know about the information that they give. And the law kind of protects them a lot on far as if it's a free account, just how much information and what they can do with our information. So with very little of us even knowing. So
That's
that's
a totally separate issue though.
It is, and that's why I'm saying there is certain things that I do.
Yeah, that's why I was being specific about censorship, because what you're talking about, them sharing our private information, I think comes under privacy law, and that I agree, and this is a very debated topic amongst libertarians as well, is, you know, once you consent to allow them to share that information through their terms and use agreements, that is 5,000 pages that nobody ever reads, you know, that there still should be some protection even beyond, you know, because you want to use the platform. So I think that's the argument, is because the platforms are so widely used, you know, it's almost a necessity for anybody in the public sphere to use a social media platform. So that's the justification for it to be more transparent about what they're doing with our information, and the ability to opt out of sharing your private information or personal information. But that's a totally different subject from
It is.
from censorship, from censoring what is put on the platforms. So, like Donald Trump being able to say whatever, non-factual information he wants without, fact. I think it would be better that if the if that were the case, if they did not want to. Now, see, that's way too much work for the algorithm or for anybody to try to do, is fact check and counter argue any point, that, like if he says, North Korea did this and it's absolutely not true, how much work would it be for them to actually say that it wasn't true?
Yeah, say that it's true. True. Yeah, because what Trump wants, he wants a free ride. He doesn't want the private company to be able to tell what they want on their platform.
So I wonder how he would feel if the government, if President Obama would have told him that, he can no longer serve water without ice in his hotels. Or something like that, or he can't have large sodas in his hotels, or that he can't throw anybody out of his hotel for being disruptive or for using foul language or whatever rule that he has for his hotels. Oh, I wonder how he would feel if Obama had come up to his hotel, passed a regulation that restricted his hotel's ability to make their own rules.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, but I guess on both sides, I guess no one wants to be censored. I think one,
SRF Gaming, he says, I gotta share this with you. I don't know if you're looking at chat. He says Trump isn't articulate, but at least he's funny. But he did more numbers than the Bachelor finale during the pandemic. We need to know. It's like watching a train wreck, watching those press conferences. You can't take your eyes off of it.
Well, he talked about, and it was pretty funny because he was bragging about how great his numbers did with the Corona press conference. And he actually said, I'm this many people are coming in for my daily briefings, and and the news stations, they can't even get that. But and he had said that's why he continued these daily coronavirus press conferences. Like he was proud of his numbers or whatnot on that. But
is there anybody more popular on Twitter?
I don't think so. This guy, I told you yesterday he was at 44 million, but I was way off. I think he's over 100 some million.
100? That's a third of the U.S. population. Of course, he's worldwide, I'm sure. He's worldwide famous on Twitter.
And I'll check right now, but I was like,
let me see if I can.
Check right now, but
the second monitor is awesome, man. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, so everything is working very fluently and faster for you now.
Oh yeah, because I can just throw everything on this monitor and just put it right up there. I got a external display link right here, so I can just throw it up there.
Yeah, but like I was saying, I guess why you did that. But on the other hand, I guess it is a little, I guess, something that needs to be. Well, I don't even know, with regards to a private company, but still, if you sign up for a free account, and I guess it just goes along with the terms and services and whatnot, but to have, to sign up for something, and then I guess his whole main thing is that you're telling me I can only talk about, I can only talk about this. And if I talk about that, then you're going to kick me off your platform. So I think that's what he wants to adjust as a free account. I guess he wants to be free. I guess that's the argument on the other side, or whatnot. But
yeah,
it's a thin line. I mean, it's I don't know. But now,
my Twitter
would be the.
My Twitter is just
because once you go down that lane and you allow something like this to even be passed, saying that hey, you can regulate them, even just with regards to censorship, even though it's something that a lot of people would back him, like a lot of people would be down with this. Like, yeah, we don't want Twitter and Facebook censoring. I mean, he's gonna have a lot of backing, tons of it, but if we go, people don't understand the long run. If you go down this lane, and cases taken to Supreme Court later on in the future can always come back to this case and say, hey, yeah, well, we let the government do this.
And that's what happens. That's what happens.
So,
and there would be a ton of, because there's people who blindly support these politicians. Blindly. And I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's the truth. And that's the problem, is once you let them in that door, that's why libertarians are, are so against stuff like that, is because once you allow them in the door to be able to regulate an industry in a certain way, it just opens the door for so much more. I mean, it's the same thing with the what was it? The New London case for eminent domain.
Mm-hmm.
Once they allowed eminent domain to be used for economic benefit of a city, now it's just totally abused across the country, and that needs to be seriously repealed, because it's costing local economies millions and millions of dollars. I cannot find one tweet from him now.
Right.
For some reason. I just get a bunch of Libertarian Party of Texas. There he is. The real Donald Trump. He is at 81.9 million followers.
81. Yeah, I knew he was over 44 when I said that's insane.
What? He's following 46. What 46 people is the real Donald Trump following?
Oh, that's a good question for you. There you go.
Can you tell?
And like
yeah,
I said,
you can tell.
There are a lot of people, because you just listen to how it was worded, and it sounds very people are going to, you can pitch that in a great way to Americans to get Americans on board. They are censoring you. I mean, you heard what I was reading on the other day. You read it, and it was very, it had some very inspiring moments that. United.
And that's the thing I hate that, because he's twisting the Constitution around in order to make it seem like Twitter is violating your rights. No. Exactly. People understand what I'm saying. Listen very, very carefully. This is the most important thing you're going to hear today. The Constitution of the United States was designed for one single purpose, and that's to protect the citizens of the United States from the government. That's it. It is to deny the government's ability to violate your rights. It's not to deny somebody else from violating your rights, but the government. And the government's sole purpose is to protect your freedoms. The government's sole purpose is to protect Twitter's freedom. That's his purpose. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, is he's trying to use the Constitution in order to violate the Constitution, and that's not what it's supposed to be. The Constitution is a restriction on government. It is not a restriction on private citizens. It is a protection for private citizens.
That sums it up. That sums it up perfect. I mean,
that's what frustrated me so much about him continuously talking about our founding fathers and the First Amendment and freedom of speech and has to be protected and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, man. Freedom of speech has to be protected from you. That's the point.
I mean, and that was, and I just, and that's specifically a reason why we had that Second Amendment to help us. It wasn't to protect us against robbers and stuff and people, intruders that come into our house. That wasn't, that wasn't the reason for that Second Amendment. It was to help us protect, our First Amendment and against our own government, the people against their own government.
Well,
that uprising. That
was the thing, exactly. When the Constitution was originally written, the whole purpose was to prevent the oppression and tyranny that was bestowed upon them by the British government from happening within their own country, this new country that they were trying to found. So their purpose was to keep government's power as limited as much as possible. They didn't even want a federally controlled military. I don't know if I was talking to you about this, but I was sharing this with somebody. Oh. They wanted individual militias, like the citizens of the United States. That's why the Second Amendment was voted. The Supreme Court because it says that for a well-regulated militia, right? And that so that everybody used to say, well, that would mean the military, right? And so the Supreme Court ruled that the founding fathers, because of how they envisioned the defense of the country, that what they meant was the citizens, because they were talking about the citizen militia, that they didn't want the federal government to have centralized control of the military. They wanted the citizens themselves to be the military and to have training within each individual locality or state. And then if necessary, they could you know, what do they call it, alert and rally all of the militias together to fight off an invading force.
Fight off.
So that's the determination. And I mean, that's how much limited they wanted our government. They did not want the federal government to even have control of the military. They wanted those to be within the states as well. I mean, it's so twisted up now, you know, and then so anytime I hear somebody in our current federal government, especially a president, bring up our founding fathers or the Constitution, I cringe. Because if you cared at all for what the founding fathers or the Constitution stood for, you would be repealing 80% of the crazy legislation that has been passed in the last 100 years. You would be getting rid of it if you cared at all about it.
For sure. And but a lot of times, you know, people, especially the government, and you know, people pick and choose when we want to follow and abide by the Constitution. So
right,
it's a lot of picking and choosing. But,
yeah. So I'm gonna read this statement. I want to see what you think about it. Where did I put it? Moving on from Donald Trump's attempt to control Twitter. Oh, it was it's in here. Here we go. So I'm just gonna read the statement, and then I'll say who it's from. I think you're familiar with it. I think I shared it with you already. So it says, as a media system that serves every person in America, we stand with the black community, and we stand against racism and hate. In the coming days and weeks, we will use our national reach and community presence to deepen understanding, foster conversation, and enable meaningful change. And we will continue to stand behind our courageous journalists whose unwavering commitment to speak truth to power is essential to the strength of our democracy. This is from Paula Kerger, President and CEO of PBS. So I'm gonna say it sounds like PBS is getting on board with the Black Lives Matter. They're putting out some programming and stuff that is encouraging. Oops, I can't see all of it. Oh, okay, here we go. Encouraging and shining a light on the injustice that's been wrought on the community. So, I mean, does that change how you feel about PBS at all?
Okay, I see what we got some entrapment going on. Okay.
I mean, they're using their funding. I mean, that funding they got from that stimulus package, it sounds like they're putting it to some good use.
Listen, guys. Let me first start off by saying this, because it seems like everybody is misinterpreting. I never said that I am anti or I am against PBS. I have never. Y'all have never heard me say it.
Well,
but
we didn't hear you say that, but we could hear the utter disgust that you had for the fact that PBS got some money out of the stimulus package.
They've been getting money. Listen, I am going to do a whole piece. Now, let me not even get on that. But here's the thing, guys. That statement is great. I like the statement. And like you, I believe you told me earlier, action speaks louder than words. But it was a great statement. I done seen a lot of statements over this past 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. On that note, then, let me share with you. I'm gonna have to move some windows around here, I think, but
okay.
I'm gonna share some of what what PBS is actually. This is a good email. So this is an email. I'm subscribed to their thing. So this is okay. It's right above you. So this is some of the programming that PBS is going to put into effect. Monday, June 8th, they have Twilight Los Angeles. It's I don't really know what this one is about. But anyways, June 9th at 7 p.m. is a talk on race in America. And it's funny because it has the American flag. Remember how we were talking about the American flag means different things to different people? And that's what it sounds like this is about. Then the next is 9 p.m. is Policing the Police. June 10th at 7 p.m. The Black Panthers Vanguard of the Revolution, Independent Lens. On June 10th at 9 p.m. Independent Lens, I Am Not Your Negro, which is a film envisions the book James Baldwin never finished. America in Black and Blue 2020. That's on Wednesday, June 15th at 8 p.m. So, they're not just, it wasn't just a statement. This is a list of programming that PBS is doing to try to bring to light this issue that we have, this issue of injustice in our society.
Cute. I mean, it's cute. I mean, it's cute.
It's cute? Is that
one thing?
It's cute. Are you gonna watch any of those?
One thing, no, I won't be watching them, but one thing about, and most of the programming on PBS, it's not even, well, I'm going to make a whole video. It's not actually their programming. It's, but I'll do, but that's good. Like, I like to see, like, Uber, Xbox, Windex, everybody's making statements. Everybody's doing what they can. I'm getting a discount on Uber now, rides, and all types of stuff is going on. Yeah, you're right there, fifth grade class. I'm reading your comments. He is. He's trying. That's why it's
But anyway, I actually but
that's great.
Just starting trouble with you. That was actually my segue into what I wanted to talk about next, which is which I think you covered in a video you posted on Facebook, and it's really been bugging me. Is when I started this stream, I talked about something very important, a very important topic that people should be talking about. This law, this legislation that was submitted by Justin Amash to end qualified immunity is huge. This is what should be broadcast right now, because it gets down to the source of the problem. It gets right down to the knee on the neck. And I'm saying that literally. It gets to the source, the knee on the neck. That's what we're talking about. That's the issue right now. And all this other stuff, my pastor talked about it this morning too. All this other stuff, these protests and these talks about, it's killing me. I mean, this talk about, the black on blacks killing each other, and maybe if there wasn't so many fatherless families, and the crime way. Blacks commit more crimes. That's irrelevant. The black on blacks killing each other. That's irrelevant. The fatherless children. That's irrelevant. What is relevant is a police officer casually putting his knee on a black man's neck and killing him. That is what's relevant. So let's quit being distracted by all this protest, riots, nonsense, and whatever else you want to talk about, and stay relevant to what is important right now. And that's what's bugging. And I think that was sort of what you were getting at on your video too.
Exactly, man. I had get so annoyed, because my whole thing is that, it's good. It's not, because all I see now is videos, praising the cops, and it's not all cops, and look at them kneeling, and they held hands with us and marching and parading. And now this whole movement and this whole thing, it's not their time right now. This is not the time. Like, what they did is this is not the time.
It's like they're trying to jump on the bandwagon and try to get a free ride, off of this injustice that was done to this one man. No, you don't get to get a free ride. Candace Owens or whatever her name. You shut up. Stay on topic.
And that was exactly right. And I don't know how much you looked at that video, but my main thing is that We never said that in the first place. They're trying to create a narrative that they're trying to paint this narrative that, black people has been out here protesting against the cops and such. No, we've been protesting against a systematic system that in an issue with white supremacists. We're protesting not cops per se, but we're protesting a system that has enabled them to get away with this stuff for so long. That would happen with George, and it's still not being addressed. Forget the cops. It ain't about just the cops. They're acting. There's like, no. So we're trying to paint this narrative. No, look, black people. Look at the cops are with you. They're crying. They're parading with us. We weren't making that argument. It's a straw man argument, and that's
You're right, exactly.
one of the
That's
things,
a
like
definition
you
of a
said,
straw man argument. You're right. It's right. What you just described right there is systemic racism. See, what they mean by systemic racism, it isn't that a single person is racist. It's that a system is racist. That's what it's called, a systemic racism. That's what we're trying to fight here. And the same thing with the All Lives Matter and all this stuff is just a distraction. Quit allowing. I mean, and it's like, why? It's what the media does. You know what I mean? Don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing. I don't. It doesn't make any sense. We don't need it. That's why I'm so glad that Justin Amash, while the Democrats and the Republicans are allowing themselves to be distracted by the media, or they are instigating the distractions themselves, Justin Amash went forward and had action that could fix it. You know what I mean? Actionable work that can fix this. So, or at least maybe not fix it completely, but give people the tools to fix it.
There you go. It's not allowing. It's cutting down because it's so much. There's so many laws and policy. There's so many laws and policies and institutions that allow white supremacists and racism and police brutality to flourish, to feed. And when you get rid of those policies and laws and finding and exposing those things, then you can start to decrease, you can decrease the inability, you can decrease the opportunity. But it's so many opportunities because there's so much protection for it. If you take away, protection, and bring in accountability, then things will start to minimize. But it's so many things that protect and enables this stuff. So
I am a big supporter of the police. I think they do a job that I wouldn't want to do, and 100% support them. And I would always say that we don't want, they need to be protected because that's their job, is to deal with the worst of our society. And we don't want them to hesitate and possibly get themselves killed in situations like that. But it's beyond that now. Now it's the same thing with any other government regulation. When the government regulates, it's got to be a blanket thing. And now it's not only protecting good cops that make mistakes possibly, but it's protecting bad cops that are hateful. That have aggressive problems or whatever their issue is. 17 times this guy had 17 priors before he killed George Floyd. 17. And protected. It's not just qualified immunity, it's the police unions as well that protect these guys. So and then it's a list of problems. It's like I said in the very first video I did after the George Floyd was killed. I talked about it's a cultural thing within the police department. And I think fixing this legislation is the first step in fixing that culture. When you get held accountable, when your partner is going to get held accountable for allowing you to kill somebody, if you're not going to hold each other accountable, then the courts should force you to hold each other accountable. That's what happens to us in the military. So you can't just stand by and watch as somebody commits a war crime. Now you are part of that war crime if you did. So And it happened with those Marines that were posing with the dead bodies and stuff. It happened with those in the prison or the jail that they had in Iraq, where they were peeing on the prisoners and stuff, and somebody videotaped it, and they were doing all, making them strip down and all those things. Those people that were watching that were also accessories to it for standing by and watching.
Oh, yeah, and then rightly they should be.
SRF Gaming said all those things can be deterred if they funded poor communities, support Black lives. They're Americans too.
Yeah.
Well, it's still irrelevant. All those things are still irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the injustice that is going on. I mean, all those things are different problems that need to be fixed. I think it's pretty well known the issues that need to be fixed in our poor communities and amongst the African American communities and stuff. Yeah, we know that there's all these problems with having fatherless families and stuff like that. And there's all kinds of institutions and stuff that are trying to address those things. And yes, that could make these situations less common, but that's not the point. That is victim focus. You're focusing on the victim, the guy who was murdered, instead of focusing on the guy who did the murdering. I talked about that too, I think, in that first video, is victim focus. Victim focus is just flat out wrong. You can't say just because a woman dressed a certain way that she deserved to be raped. And you can't just say that because George Floyd was this way or that way, or he committed a minor felony or a minor misdemeanor, that he deserved to die. No, you can't say that. That is absolutely wrong and absolutely false, and it's absolutely outside of relevancy of what's going on.
Yeah, and but I do agree with SRF on his latter part of his statement, which is the support of Black Lives Matter. We have seen a massive support over the last week or two, and a support for Black Lives Matter that has never been seen at this level from the government, from businesses, from everything. And in just 2 weeks, so much has happened. So much has happened with regards to people coming out, with regards to company making changes. When you, especially when your government, when the United States, and when you've got everyone supporting the Black Lives Matter, because what does a massive support do? In just 2 weeks, it exposed America. It exposed, it exposed these to a lot of different people, and it lets them know that it needs to be addressed. But I just see it that, that is a big thing. I think, with regards to the support of Black Lives Matter, it has never been supported by the government so heavily, by even the president at this highest level than it has within the last 2 weeks, than ever in our United States history. There was an open, and when the U.S. and when government and everybody is open to the issue, then stuff start happening. And you see the changes just within 2 weeks of a massive support. It's something that needs to be constant, not just in the moment of, okay, it's a tragic right now, but if there is a constant push, if government actually support, if there is not just legislation, but all right, if there's even legislations and funding, heavily, openly, public funding to Black Lives Matter, institutions and parties and whatnot, that shows that America, wow, we're really pushing that to private organizations from the U.S. Stuff like that, because we see what it has done in 2 weeks now, on a massive scale as far as but yeah, that's what I say. That is a big thing in which you talk about on that latter part, the support of Black lives. But
Oh yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah. So I'm 100% behind that. Actually, so I submitted a question. Got to get back 30 minutes. There's this meeting with the district attorneys of El Paso.
Okay.
And it's like a town hall thing where you get to ask them questions. And I already submitted a question to them. How do you feel about qualified immunity? and Justin Amash, the Libertarian, who submitted legislation to end qualified immunity. These are district attorneys, so I'm really curious about what they're going to say about it. So, and they're Democrats, so I'm suspecting that they're going to support it, which is going to look great because it's like, oh yeah, the Democrats support the Libertarians. So I need this, I need this in El Paso, and you know why? I need to get some support from the Democrats for liberty in El Paso. So it's a good opportunity for me. So I jumped on it.
And they're gonna be answering that.
Oh yeah.
You said like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's coming on in 30 minutes, but yeah, absolutely right. And you know it's, but you know, and like you were saying, it needs to be continuous. This isn't something that we just because it shouldn't take somebody to die for us to back our black community. It shouldn't. Exactly. It shouldn't. It just flat out. I mean, this shouldn't even be a. Martin Luther King says, "I dream of a day when black children and white children will play together in a." We have that now. Well, I dream of a day when we don't even have to say Black Lives Matter. Where that's not even something that where if you said something like that, it'd be like, well, yeah, what do you got to say that for? You know what I mean?
It's so strange. I mean, even now, it's funny that people, no one see it strange that we actually have good cops. That's news. That makes news.
Yeah, really?
That equates to big news in America. Oh, we got good cops. That not everybody is beating black people. Not everybody is doing police brutality. That's the big news in America. Yeah. No one finds that strange.
Or like my pastor at church, we have a police officer at our church, and he stands from the pulpit is like there is some Christian God loving police officers. We have one right here in our church with us. It shouldn't even have to point that out. You shouldn't have to point out that Black Lives Matter. You shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to be talking about this, but we do have to talk about this because apparently there's a group of people in power and positions of authority who seem to think that there's a portion of our society that matters less than another portion of society. So.
Yeah, and and then I was in a forum and I was speaking with someone and I was telling them a little bit of what I said in the video, and I was saying, enough with these parades and these videos. Don't tag me on another video about a cop kneeling. Quite frankly, I don't care. I mean, it's good gesture and the other cop holding hands and whatnot. I don't care. I don't care. That's not about them. I mean, most of that is tactical anyway. But I said, don't show me. And the person was like, well, you got to understand that this raised awareness, and this is what it's all about. We've got to share these footage. It raised awareness about the issue at hand. And my thing is, 200 years, why do we still need to be made aware of racism in America, that there are certain people in our community that has been what? This is not the water bucket challenge. We're talking
people dying.
Yeah, so that whole awareness and the whole all lives, but I know you hit on that. But that was.
Speaking about all lives mattering, this is like the most minor. Well, I don't feel it's minor, but I showed it to you earlier too. It just popped up on the screen by accident while I was getting the picture ready. So I was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare yesterday, and I kind of because I already finished the season, and so I'm just kind of doing the challenges that grant you some kind of cheesy thing or whatever. So skins and stuff, right? So I just been doing those daily challenges, knocking those out. And so yesterday I get on there, and the co-op challenge was this. I'm gonna throw it up here. And it says get 22 headshots with pistols. And I saw that number 22, and I'm retired Army, 25 years. Right. And everybody knows what the number 22 is if you're a veteran. That's in reference to veteran suicides. I think it's 22 veterans a day are, kill themselves, take their own lives due to suicide. So the number 22 is very significant amongst about veteran suicide. And I saw this thing, man, and I was like, I for a minute I was like, okay, am I getting in my feelings? Because I felt pretty insulted.
Right.
Like, it's just the
I
fact
was
that it's
a veteran,
20.
and
I
I
mean,
was
just
like-
why do you got to do headshots with pistols? You know what I mean? Like, that's disgusting, man. It's disgusting. And so
it was
I
like in fifth grade was right on it. He's like, 22 suicide. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, there's the picture right there. Yeah, and this is right off of my game. So it's get 22 headshots, and this is right after they just did this big Call of Duty endowment thing where there's they give everything to charity to help employ veterans for veterans employment and stuff. And then I'm like, and then you're gonna do this. And so I let it sit for a day. I didn't say anything about it for a whole day. And then I came back in this morning, I seen it on my desktop, and I'm like, no, man, I'm gonna say something about this because this is bugging me, man. That's something you joke about. It's not something you just put into a game.
It's not.
You know what I mean? If you want to call
You don't
attention
put it
to
in-
it, then call attention to it. But this isn't the way to do it.
Yeah, and you got to know, and like I tell you, it definitely was intentional because you got to think of what type of game Call of Duty is. It is a war, so you got to know that there are army and veteran-minded people behind the creation of this, so they know exactly. It definitely was intentional.
Yeah, if they were trying to do this in order to, bring awareness to the veteran suicide rate or something, maybe it was something that was already programmed into the system before the whole George Floyd incident. Maybe they were going to release some kind of press release prior to this. I don't know. But I know just throwing it out there like this and having a veteran see it was pretty disgusting. If they would have had a press release that said, yeah, we're releasing a whole series of challenges that are, to bring awareness to the 22 veterans that are dying per day due to suicide, then, or, have a little banner ad on, when you start up the game, so I don't know, maybe that. I'm not making excuses for them, but, this should have been caught.
Any of your veteran friends? Because I know you had said you posted up something on Facebook. What did they say?
Oh yeah, they weren't happy with it.
No.
Let me see. I'm probably still getting some comments on it. I put it on Modern Warfare's on the Call of Duty endowment tweet. Call of Duty endowment Twitter page. So when they were supporting the call, like they did a tweet for advertising the Call of Duty endowment, and I put it under that one because I don't know how to actually send it to somebody, so I just commented on their tweet and shared it, and was like, yeah, this is not acceptable.
Right.
So I haven't heard anybody say anything about that. Let's see what some of my other buddies have said. As soon as I find where is it? No, I guess I'll just go to my page. Shouldn't be that far down. I don't post that much. Yeah, here it is. So, yeah. So, all the more, one of my buddies said, all the more reason to not support that franchise. If they are so blind as to not see the implications, they get none of my money. Another friend of mine who's a former Marine and Army said they get none of my money in the first place, but that is definitely an obvious reference.
Yeah.
Another friend of mine is he's a former Marine also, and he said 22 is a weird choice. It seems intentional. If so, it does seem to lack class.
Yeah.
My buddy says it might be worth submitting a trouble ticket and explaining that 20, 25, or 30 would be a better choice.
You might be right. Actually,
I might do that. I might do that.
Like, seriously. No, you think about it for real. Like, seriously. I'll put up something on. Like I said, I'll do the necessary tagging. And I see Kill You said to put it on Reddit.
Yeah, I
think
tried.
He tried that earlier.
Yeah,
He
I tried.
Yeah. So.
They wouldn't. I guess I don't know if it's because you were saying that sometimes you got to wait a couple days before you can post, and I just joined their forum on Reddit, so yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. So, but that's interesting. That's interesting. Now, a lot of I guess the last thing is one of the things that I want to ask you about, and it was regarding Trump and coronavirus. But I don't know if you had heard, but he had said on last night that he put it out on a tweet that all the governors, they should look to have their states fully open by the second week of August. He said everyone should be looking to have everything fully open. Is that what he expected? He said that no one should be still not open fully after the second week. So think on that. I mean, is that, you know?
Well, they should have been opened a long time ago. Should have been open a long time ago. I mean, they should have never closed to begin with. But so Trump is directing the governors again, huh? To
He is. He's not right. I don't know if he's gonna. I don't. He didn't say anything about sending the Marines in and open it up for the states if they don't have it open by August. I don't know.
No, man. This ain't funny. It ain't funny. This guy trying to be a tyrant and a dictator is not funny. It wasn't funny when Obama did it, and it's not funny when Trump does it. Obama was like, he was taught. I never forget. I just my jaw dropped.
I'll give Obama. He's high those executive orders like candy, man.
But he was like, yeah, that's what he said in a State of the Union address, talking about Congress. You know, when it was a Republican-dominated Congress, he's like, "Oh, if they don't want to fall in line, then I got the power of the pen." And I'm like, that is not how it works, man.
That's what he said. Oh shoot, I'm like a ghost law. Okay, never mind.
No, I chroma keyed because I wanted to get the black border off, so it looked cleaner. So I was messing with it. So I think it looks better, don't it? I think it looks better.
Yeah, it looks good.
I can actually make you bigger now.
There you go. Okay. There we go. No, that was I thought that was interesting, and I guess everybody is still it just bugs me, and I think I told you the other day, you know, walking around and everybody's in masks still and going crazy, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know anyone. Like we keep getting these cases in El Paso, but
that's because they're testing more. You're going to get more cases. If you're
cases, and we keep getting the deaths and whatnot, and I don't know these people. And
it's like, I don't know.
I'm trying. I'm like,
you're like, I know a lot of people, but I don't know anybody that's died of corona.
I just someone that's connected, or at least connected with that person. I don't know.
You're significant. I mean, I have a few very significant community leaders that are friends of mine. Quite a few, actually. You know, and I find it really interesting that none of these community leaders like yourself or my pastor or the business owners that I know or the political activists that I know, nobody even has anybody that's gotten sick with corona. So, and you know,
people that knows the most people, we don't.
Right.
I've been out. Like I've been very disobedient this whole time. I don't know if
you got a ticket to prove it.
Right. I have not. I have lived my life exactly like since this whole thing started. So, I mean, I have not changed my schedule, and I was out on probably every day. There's barely a day that I'm at home, and it hasn't changed. But I don't know. I don't know.
What would you have done? Serious question. I mean, I don't know if you've considered this or not. But because I mean, your nonprofit is a youth sports program. That's one of your passions, is your youth sports program through your nonprofit.
Sports and mentoring and all that good stuff. Yeah.
If the government hadn't shut you down, would you have continued your youth sports program, or would you maybe have put it on hold until you've seen how this whole virus thing was going to work out? You know, how would you have handled it if the government had not stepped in and forced you to shut your programs down?
That's a great question, because we had this meeting. But that's a great question. If the government would not have, shut us down, obviously, our first thing, because we had already had plans to, before when coronavirus was kind of getting started, we had already started basically the plan. We had sent out an email, we had sent out text messages, and we kind of gauged to see what teams and what people and how many and who was going to still come out, who's continue. We understand, but we are making plans, but we are going to continue our programming with those that are interested in continuing. And if they did not want to due to Corona, then they didn't have to. We was doing it basically how it should have been done
voluntary.
In the first place, allowing. We were the government. Community, we were the government, and we were saying, hey, come out if you want to, stay in if you, but we're not forcing you. We're not
voluntary,
forcing you,
yeah.
Yeah, it was voluntary, but we weren't never going to stop. I mean, yeah, and I had some staff and some people that were not going to, and they would, unfortunately not have a job. I have to get our staff, get people that want to, but and whatnot. But yeah, that's basically how we would handle it. I guess basically how government should handle it. We would have continued. It would be a little bit. It'll be a little bit more tedious and a little bit more tough, only because the government they do have access to shut down their parks, but we stopped using their parks anyway. So
yeah, well, they were charging you $20 a kid.
Oh yeah.
But what part of non-profit does the government not understand?
It was ridiculous, man. It was ridiculous. So and all that good stuff. But yeah, we would have definitely we would definitely continue. I mean, even now we still have parents. They're people. They're ready for us to get going. I mean, and now even now the government is like, hey, you can continue, but you can still only have 10 people at a time. So we can't run leagues or anything still, but we want to try some camps and whatnot, because we got tons and tons and tons of kids and parents that have been asking, and they want to be active during the summer. They don't want them staying home, and I don't want them.
Kids need to be social too, man. They need to be social.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest tragedy in this whole thing is the fact that our kids have not been able to be around other kids, whether it's through schools or churches or parks or anything else, man. And 2 months to a kid is a century, man. So, I think that's the biggest tragedy right there. Ma too said that her coworker's uncle, aunt died of corona. Cousin is a doctor in Mexico. 2 of his doctor friends died. Aunt's neighbor died, and her sister, and I can go on. So she's got some secondhand knowledge of some, but it doesn't sound like she knows anybody. But like I said, once again, do you know anybody directly? Directly.
My coworker's uncle and aunt died of corona. And even with that statement, I mean, it's hard to even take statements like they died from corona.
Yeah.
I mean, because we know what equates to dying from a corona now.
Yeah.
Heart attack.
Some guy that's 450 pounds with cardiovascular disease has a heart attack, and they find out he's got coronavirus, and so he died of corona.
Someone that was in a coma and got the plug pulled. And I mean, it's so weird. I don't know. I listened to this PhD, this lady on yesterday, and she is under the impression that Bill Gates and Donald Trump, and there's a few other people, that corona was just a test, and they wasn't looking to see that it would. I'll send it to you. And she
is it a conspiracy theorist thing?
It is, yeah, it is. But then she provided some clips of them. Well, I'll let you. I'm not getting into that, but I'll let you see her video. But yeah, that's that. But it was an interesting piece by her, to say the least. But it's funny. They were even talking about it. I didn't think no one's talking about Corona anymore.
I
Because
know, right? Nobody even cares about Corona anymore. Corona's getting
yeah,
jealous
they're
over
looking
here.
at the new fad thing. But you know, it's good to see that Black Lives Matter. It was more important than you staying home getting your check. More important than
Oh
Corona.
yeah, because
Got out.
the
Yeah.
doctor said that protests are more important than social distancing.
Yeah. Right.
Social activism is more important than social distancing. Good to know.
Exactly.
Good to know.
Exactly. Dude, that of my two. I need that shirt, Mel. I need that shirt. Rate what Dave just said. Social how did you just
Social
say?
activism is
Forward.
more important than social distancing.
Boom.
So you could do like the greater than symbol, right? Social activism greater than social distancing.
Yes, something greater than this. I need that shirt. Oh god. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Black Lives Matter more than Corona.
Oh, yes, I need that. I'm always out, so I'm always out. And I got I don't
Oh,
know,
that would be
I
hilarious.
yes, we need that shirt because I support that. I told Matsu, I had told your wife about the Corona shirt just a week ago. That got me in a lot of trouble. Some people were like, the old lady was mad, and she was like, "You think you're funny?" You know, being like, she had got busy
My
with
cousin's uncle's brother died of Corona.
it. No, she was mad, man.
My neighbor
She
down the
used to go
street's
home
got a
and
cousin
take that
in Chile.
She told me I needed to take the shirt off, and I think I was funny. And then she had asked why wasn't like no black people wearing masks in Walmart. Like it was weird. All that good stuff.
There's no black people wearing masks at all.
It was right though. I don't. Anytime I'm in Walmart, you know, it's weird. But yeah. So that was that, man. But I don't know. But it's always fun. I know that you had hit on that earlier with regards to you had sent me Justin I imagine you went over that earlier as far as the bill and whatnot.
Oh yeah. I went through that pretty
I thought that was
detailed.
super interesting. That was super. That was the only thing I want to say on that is that needs to be blown up, man. Like it's a big thing. Like that's huge, and it's funny that like no news media or no one is speaking of it. So
yeah, I encourage you all, anybody that
Definitely
watches this
fair.
thing, especially if you watched it this far, if there's one thing that you can do to support Black Lives Matter, to support ending this injustice, then take that video from Spike Cohen on Spike Cohen's Facebook page. The link is in the description. Take that video and share it everywhere. Take the link to HR 7085, Justin Amash, and share it everywhere. Call your representatives and tell them to support that bill, especially these Republican ones that are just sitting on their hands right now because they're scared because 39 Democrats already jumped on it. Call them up. Send emails. Trust me. Especially if it's your congressional districts. They know for every one voter that is complaining about something, that's a big deal because it doesn't take that many for them to lose in an election as far as a congressional election. So I encourage y'all to support that bill and share that video from Spike Cohen too.
And real quick, Dave, I want to read you something. See if you had already. I'm gonna bring up this tweet, but you remember what this is what Donald Trump had said. Well, basically, he wants to. He said that the people, because of how well he's doing, that basically he's suggesting that he get another extra term. That the people there's gonna be an outcry because of how great he did, and they're gonna say that we need him for another term, and he suggests that we try to do something about the Constitution. Yes. No interest. I want to quote his tweet.
Yeah. Let me hear this.
I was reading it last night. There we go. And I scrolled down. I was like, and he said something along the lines. All right, here we go. It's like I'm just floating it out here.
Right?
Here we go. Here we go.
That's weird.
He'd say that at least 10 to 14 years, but nope, that is what the general said, and then okay. So this is, where are we? Well, that's a beautiful, okay. Trump also made a joke at the topic last year, and then further his tweet on June the 2nd. His tweet read, he's now the president's, they were talking about the Chinese president. 2 days ago, they were talking about the president of China, and Trump in this tweet, he said he's now the president for life. The president for life. No, he's great.
The Chinese president?
Yes.
I don't think is he a president? He's
He
not elected.
They said he praised Chinese President Xi.
Xing Zai, I think his name is, yeah.
Yeah, his name Jinping, for doing away with term limits. The president of China just did away with term limits, so there's no more term limits. That's what he did on last month. So he's now the president for life if he can. So he just put that into however they do their laws. And president, he was replying to that. He said he had quoted on Twitter. You can see the president, the Chinese president's law, and then he screenshot it, and then under the screenshot he said, "You guys can see he's now the president for life. The president for life. No, he is great. And look, he was able to do that. I think it's great. Maybe we'll have to give that a shot here someday, because the people may see how great America, ... going to the next tweet, too many characters, next tweet, is doing after my second term. They may want me to stay around to keep America going great." What is that?
It's irrelevant.
Yeah,
It's irrelevant. Yeah, it's going to take it was pretty simple to get the term limits put in place. I think it's the 16th Amendment. I'm going to tell you something, people. Every single cycle, there is legislation that's submitted to repeal the 16th Amendment. I think it's the 16th. I could be wrong. It might be the 19th. Actually, I think it is the 19th. It's the amendment that puts the term limits on president. So every year somebody submits legislation. They did it for Obama. Some Democrat from New York submitted legislation to repeal the 19th Amendment, and it didn't go anywhere. So somebody's probably going to submit legislation, and I'm sure Trump will give him a big old huge tweet. You know, this person is the true patriot or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's once again it's moving America in the wrong direction. Instead of trying to remove the one term limit that we have, why don't we start using common sense and applying term limits to senators and congressmen, so we don't have people that have been in Senate and Congress for 40 years and are so disconnected from their constituency that they don't know who they're representing anymore. They're only representing themselves and their party.
No, that's a great point. You know,
that's
a great point.
and it's and let's see how. you know, especially in China. China's a communist country. It's ran by the government anyways. So you're really praising a communist philosophy? Not a good look, buddy. Not a good look.
Not a good look.
Once again, not a good look. But anyways, I got to get going. I want to get on this call.
Yeah, same here.
So
I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish. Hey, thanks for the invite and all that other good stuff. And guys, if anything, I just leave everybody with don't get distracted. Stay on the task. You know, keep speaking up. Keep putting the voice out there, because it's when we if they see that we're distracted by $1,200, if they see that we're distracted by, you know, parades and emotional therapy of, you know, marching and stuff like that. It happens every time the government wants to get the attention off of them and their lack. They distract us with something, rather it's a little money or something even bigger, but don't get distracted off of that. Know that, you know, there is an issue and legislation, and it's funny that it took a libertarian to actually bring up something that can start to, you know, even address it. So stay focused, keep the voice, and all that other good stuff. And as always, KIP, I will see you guys when I see you. Thank you there, Dave.
hey, no problem, man. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for testing this thing out with me.
For sure. Didn't take long to get it together, though.
No,
so it was all good.
I'm gonna end this thing. Okay, there we go. Let me get rid of that Zoom thing. Hey, thanks a lot for joining me. I'm already a little bit late on this call with these DAs, but it's okay. I'm sure they're just probably giving their little starting speeches, and politicians can talk, so it's all cool. It was great having Evolve on. As always, great insight. And yeah, man, keep the movement, man. Retweet, go add Justin Amash, add the Libertarian Party on Twitter, on Facebook, like Spike Cohen, and share this information. Start demanding from your representatives. I mean, this is what we got to do. We got to get loud, and every single one of you has that opportunity. I don't care even if you're in India or something. Share it. It'll get back to somebody in the States, man, and we can make a difference, at least in this country. And this country serves as that, that beacon for other countries too. So, you know, if they start seeing freedom and liberty working in this country, it can spread. And that's the way it's meant to be. That's the way it's supposed to be. So, and definitely keep it positive and always love one another. Once again, I know I always got to leave on a scripture. The scripture I want to leave you guys with everything that is going on, I think it is very applicable to what is going on right now, and it's from the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, which we are still studying with my church, and it's Matthew 5 and 9. Blessed are the peacemakers. I believe it's blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. And I want you to be very specific. What it's speaking of is not peacekeepers, but peacemakers. In order to make peace, that means there has to be conflict. There has to be conflict. And blessed are those that go into the conflict and make peace, for they will be called children of God. So I just want to leave you with that to marinate on, to meditate on. Thank you so much for joining once again. I think it was a really good stream. Please share the information. Show song. I left a link to the Church What Church Who Church You song that's from my church, and it's 99 cents on Google Play, iTunes and stuff. So it's $1. I think it's a great jam. It might just be me though. I'm kind of partial, you know. I'm kind of biased, but and you know, everything else. So thank you so much for tuning in. I got to get out of here. Like Evolve says, keep it positive. God bless you all, and love your neighbor. Oh, I gotta get this thing. How do I stop this thing? I got too many windows going now. So, anyways, thank you so much, y'all. Have a good day. See you on Friday.